Mr. President, there are a number of issues I'd like to talk to you about. Can I start, first of all, with the political situation in Zimbabwe today? One of the impediments to substantive negotiations between ZANU-PF and the opposition MDC was the opposition's demand that you step down from office. Now, they've told us that that demand has gone away. Do you think it's now time for negotiations between the two parties to get underway?
Well, if there's business to negotiate about, we will welcome negotiations, but if there's no business, I don't see why we should talk about negotiations. What I mean is, if you have a democratic system running and you have your ruling party, naturally, it has its policies and it's trying to effect its policies, and it's on one hand, and the opposition on the other. Well, the real functions, respective functions of the two are clear. The government is there to govern, and the opposition, naturally, to keep watch, try to criticize government as much as possible in the normal way. They are in parliament. They get their voices heard in parliament. Their criticisms are made there. And that's the normal way of running a democratic system.
Their argument is that the election wasn't fair and that they actually
That's what
won,
they
not you.
say. We say the election was fair. We say all the African groups pronounced the election fair. There might have been one odd one which went the way Europe wanted things to go. And of course they are a voice not of themselves, not of our people, that is the MDC, the voice of Europe, the voice of Mr. Blair, Mr. Bush.
Before the election took place, I remember it clearly, the voter rolls were confused. People weren't sure where they would vote, which part of the country they had to vote
No,
in.
there might have been some confusion here and there, but by and large things were quite correct. I mean, we were not running the elections for the first time. We had run elections before, and we are very faithful to our democratic system and the demands of that system. We have held elections timeously every 5 years, and there was very little to learn, for this last election.
One of the concerns of the international community, and concerns from inside the country as well, has been the level of political violence that appears to accompany Zimbabwean elections. Now, there are claims yesterday that ZANU supporters attacked MDC headquarters. There are concerns voiced by Amnesty International that human rights abuses take place, that ZANU-PF thugs carry out intimidation and attacks on the opposition. How do you accept that there is political?
You're just looking at violence, alleged violence, affecting ZANU-PF. What about the other side? Have you looked at it also?
Yes, well, I think it's conceded
this
that there is opposition.
This recent election, by-election in Lupane, they went there armed. Axes, spears, knob carries and all. And you saw what their member of Chimanimani did, even in parliament. There is more violence from the MDC than there is from ZANU-PF.
One allegation is that a lot of the ZANU-PF youth supporters come from youth training scheme camps. I've been to one of the camps. Why do youths need to learn survival skills and marching on parade grounds? What is the point of that?
Why does a country ever have to run a program of national service? That's what you're asking.
I'm not asking if it's national service. This is a youth training scheme. It's meant to be about job skills.
It's national service in a sense. And it's a training scheme. Yes, why not? Why shouldn't we train them?
Is there
the country to defend itself.
Are they brutalized in these camps? Are there allegations of raping taking place?
No. These are allegations. You're just looking at the negative. Why don't you look at the aspects that are promotive, that are positive? The youth must be developed, and developed in all, in respect of all skills. They must think Zimbabwean, feel Zimbabwean, and be nationally conscious.
But is
We
that
want
not
them
just,
to be.
But is that not just following the ZANU-PF party line, that they're not seeing another side of the argument, that it is...
ZANU
simply from what you
is the
learned?
party in government, and the policies of ZANU are what we are there to implement to effect. We do not, stand for the MDC.
Your position as in the country for 24 years is obviously paramount in the politics. Do you think now it's time for you to stand down? You've talked about succession struggles.
Why do you want me to stand down?
I'm asking you, do you think it's time to stand down? Jonathan Moyo saying
No.
that the discussion about whether the succession issue has caused problems in even elections, because many ZANU-PF were considering
Who says
who's going to
that?
be next. Jonathan Moyo.
The discussion. Yeah, sure. Of course, people, even without the discussion, people would still have had to discuss succession. Those of them who feel it's an important subject, and there are just a few in the leadership, and who would want naturally to look ahead. And I've said there is nothing wrong in people discussing the issue, but what is wrong is really they are trying now to put themselves in positions, you see, which might be regarded by the generality of the people as unacceptable.
Do you have a successor
No.
in your own mind?
No.
And how long do you think you're going to stay as president?
For as long as the people want me to stay, but not for eternity, of course.
Would you stand in the next election?
I don't think so. I think I also want to rest and do a bit of writing.
Can I ask you about another issue? This is the view of the international community towards you and towards them. Recently, at the National Chiefs Convention, you described Tony Blair as a colonialist who still thinks he owns Zimbabwe. Surely that isn't really the case in Tanzania.
That's the case. That man, I don't know how Britain came by him. You can see some of the mad things he has done. And the world now is in turmoil.
But you don't think that Tony Blair, or Britain for that matter, considers Zimbabwe a colony? Surely not.
Yes, he does. He does. He doesn't say so, but his actions do say so. What has he, not done to try and control how things should go here? He has opposed, you see, my election. He has called upon nations to, in fact, regard Zimbabwe as a lawless country, a country where democracy is not respected, where there is no rule of law, where human rights do not exist. And all that is a lie.
It's not just, of course, Britain, it's not just Commonwealth. Botswana has been critical in the past. South Africa and the SADC nations, another club that you remember.
Critical of what?
Critical of the fact that, for example, 1.3% of its economic growth in South Africa didn't happen, almost as a direct result of
No,
the events in
if
Zimbabwe.
you
20
look,
to 30,000 jobs didn't happen.
No.
Trade declined by 15 billion rand.
Yeah, no, we were not the cause of that. We don't run the South African economy.
No, but you're vitally linked to it at one
Yes,
point, but now you may not.
our trade with them has always been good. And they admit it, that in spite of the sanctions, you see, the trade has been, rising in terms of volumes. And
What
they,
trade, sorry,
all,
Mr. President,
all
what
the
what
time
trade is
to
that?
their
It's
advantage.
declining, it's not increasing.
The what?
The trade is declining.
No.
not increasing.
You go and ask Erwin. He will tell you that in spite of all that has, been done to Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe's trade with South Africa has always been, rising, not declining.
Countries like Britain and the United States have given, Britain £51 million in the last 18 months to assist Zimbabwe, and yet you only have critical words for Britain and the United States.
What assistance?
They give financial assistance to aid agencies directly to bring in food and whatever other assistance is needed here.
We have expressed our gratitude to WFP for its assistance.
But the major donors are Britain and the United States.
Well, yes, sure. So when we say thank you to WFP, we are saying thank you to the donors of WFP, aren't we?
Are you saying thank you to Great Britain for
We are
assisting
saying
Zimbabwe?
thank you to WFP.
What are your links with Britain? Why are you unhappy with Britain to such a degree? You were a friend for a very long time.
To tell you the truth, we are not unhappy with Britain as Britain. With Blair's Britain, yes, we are unhappy. That is the rulership of Blair. Very unhappy. Unhappy, first of all, he's a man who is, I don't know, he considers himself as a superhuman. He doesn't want dialogue, doesn't want to talk.
Would you like to have negotiations with Britain again? Would you make efforts now to negotiate and to discuss?
We've made enough efforts. If Britain wants to talk, we are ready. We've said so again and again. And even the people he has asked to intervene, Obasanjo, Thabo Mbeki, have asked him, you see, to try and have dialogue with us. There is a Zimbabwe which some countries would want to regard as a pariah state and never say anything good about it. Everything that it does is bad. But we are not that.
But I've met people who have been beaten. I met a union leader who was beaten for putting out leaflets calling on for industrial action. He was beaten, taken into a field and left.
But you'll get those actions happening even in Britain. Are you saying you don't have, you know?
Trade union leaders do not get taken out and beaten nearly to death by the police in Britain.
But I saw Mr. Prescott box one person. I think whether he had been, you know.
That is an incident. That is very difficult. Mr. Prescott did not then go and get the police to take that man out.
But because goodness me, you mean if the whole vice prime, deputy prime minister beats a person, boxes a person, and that person falls down, that is more acceptable than the violence of a small group that might just be, you know, mistaken in its own belief that violence will work.
Mr. President, you alluded to personal attacks, and there's one, Archbishop Desmond Tutu described you as a cartoon figure of the archetypal African dictator. Now, why would a well-respected man of the church say that?
Because he's an angry, an embittered little bishop, you see, who thinks that his own view should hold.
He's talking generally. He's not talking a specific incident. He's talking I understand the context by which you think he disagrees. It might be the background, but the point is he's talking about events, modern history, today.
What history is that?
He's talking about issues that we will come on to shortly about land reform. He's talking about the rule of law not being adhered to in Zimbabwe and democracy not being looked at, which is why he uses the term archetypal African dictator.
The one little bishop becomes the proponent of our political system here?
No, but he's widely respected throughout the world.
Respected for his religion, perhaps.
No, respected for the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, for being a man who is able to go through the whole of the apartheid era and still speak out against a repressive regime. He's identified a repressive regime.
He was a frightened man during the apartheid era, and the little he did was perhaps just criticize even in an innocent way, you know, apartheid. When called upon to do something that would distinguish him as supporter of the ANC, he wouldn't go that way.
The World Food Programme says urban food shortages are approaching critical. United Nations memo to say that you could reach the level of tonnage that it's being estimated is complete nonsense and quite impossible. The farms, outsiders are saying, simply aren't producing enough food. You've got bread prices that state media say could go up by 50%.
So what is the WFP wanting us to do?
What they're saying is you need food aid.
We need food aid, and
And that you
not
says
the
you don't
land
need
to
it.
produce. We don't need to produce.
No, they're saying you need to produce more and you need food aid. You're saying you don't need food aid. In fact,
We
last
do.
week you're saying you needed 2.3, you'll produce 2.3 million tonnes, which is far exceeds anything ever produced before. You're saying you do need food aid.
We've produced that before.
You're not going to produce it this year, though.
We are producing it this year, definitely. There is, I mean, our estimates are there, and they show us that we will have enough food for the country, and with a surplus.
800,000 tonnes.
But
is
why
the shortfall that's being given.
is WFP wanting to feed us when we are saying
Because they don't want people
we
to
are
starve.
not hungry? It should go to hungrier people, hungrier countries than ourselves. They need the food, and we urge it to go and do good work there.
The Archbishop of Bulawayo, a critic I know.
Why foist this food upon us?
Because he is respecting Nelson
No, we
Mandela,
don't want
respects
to
him,
be
he talks to him.
choked. We have enough.
He says that as many as 10,000 people died as a direct result
Ah,
of starvation,
that's-
lack of food,
that's,
perhaps
That's
illnesses.
another to the bishop, the unholy man. He thinks he's holy and telling lies all the day, or every day. And, oh, come on. 10,000 people, where did they die? He should even, show me a single person who died of hunger, that is.
When we first arrived here a couple of weeks ago, government ministers estimated crop production at about 1.5 million. Many thought that was a little high. In 2 weeks, it went up to 2.3. Now, how did that happen? It didn't suddenly have a bumper harvest and they'd got their figures wrong. The fact is, and the view from the outside is that you will get 2.3 million tonnes, but you'll do it by buying it from outside, probably from Zambia.
Would you want to wait here until the harvest is over? And then you'll be
I'd like to
able
come back and see it. I'd
Okay,
like to see
well,
where all the
sure,
tonnage
come
is
back. You'll be free. You are invited to come back.
Are you going to be buying food from outside?
No, definitely no, never. Not this year.
But why are all these estimates wrong then, Mr. President?
From the agriculture, we have an agricultural system which is second to none in Africa. Here.
Had is the argument, not has. That
The
it
what?
is no longer producing the
Had
quantity it was.
we have.
But why are these estimates so
The
wrong?
whites who were here were mere actors, farmers, ill-educated, and were brought in a system which is much more enlightened than the system they had. You see?
Why is it always a race issue? Why is this? Is it?
Well,
such
this
a,
is why we wonder. Why is it that white men always think white? There are also black men on this continent, you know, and they also matter. That's what you must tell Blair.
the 24th Independence Day rally, the whites are continuing to show contempt. They must have their resistance broken once and for all.
Yeah.
That was yours. It's antagonistic wording. If you've won the war and you've won the revolution, why are you still having to point up differences between blacks and whites?
Because the whites still are contemptuous, are still racist, and we don't want that in our society.
Do you want them out of your society?
That kind, yes, out. They must go. The good ones can stay, and we have quite a good many good ones who are just. And the Britons, for one reason or another, have that difficulty, psychological difficulty to adjust to rule by blacks.
But after a period of limbo, you changed the rules so that you could actually
listen.
appropriate farms.
Why do you want to avoid this part? Major was putting a package together, you see, in naturally response to our request that they continue to recognize their colonial responsibility. But then he was defeated. The Conservatives were defeated. Blair then took over. It's Blair and his government who really deviated from the course that Major had taken and started now showing arrogance. Their philosophy was, we are a Labour Party, we only recognize poverty alleviation as the policy that should apply to Zimbabwe and other developing countries.
It seems manifestly unfair, though, to read in a gazette that your farm has been taken off you. And that is the situation now for farms that are going to be redistributed.
How do you mean? To read in the gazette, why?
That the farm is next on the list.
No,
it used to be go through the courts. It doesn't even bother going through the courts now.
No, but people are saved with the notices. They're told.
You've been applauded by the opposition even for your moves to fight corruption. Is it not a case that the party has become corrupt under your stewardship, which is why...
Why?
Why in 2004, because you've been in charge, you're going to have to move.
Why the party? Why are you talking
or the government,
about?
the party government. The finance minister has been...
These are corrupt individuals. Ah, yes, of course you get corrupt individuals across the board. You are now telling me that your government is absolutely pure without...
I'm not representing our government. I'm simply asking questions.
No, I'm saying, well, yes, but I'm putting it back to you. You are under government in your country, and you get individuals who are corrupt naturally. Yeah. So if you get them, it doesn't mean that everybody else is corrupt.
A regular allegation from the outside world is that, Mr. President, you are corrupt as well.
Ah, come on.
It is an allegation that's made. Critics point to the building of your new home as a sign of where could you afford the house of $25 million.
Who said it was $25 million? I was given that by the party very early on, 1984, 85, and the party gave me that, and the home got burnt, and we started building. The party was going to assist me. It was not able to do so, and we've been ourselves trying to build it from our own resources starting in 1986, and it has been buying bricks, and we got a company which is an Enego company, which is Yugoslav, and we agreed that we would be providing materials little by little, and we pay just for their labor. They agreed. And we have had assistance, of course. Some countries have donated. They've got some timber from Malaysia, thanks to my good friend, former Prime Minister Mahathir. Mm-hmm. The Chinese also have donated the roofing materials, tiles, and so on.
I interviewed the Reserve Bank governor, who does seem to be a man determined to turn things round. Point is, he has huge problems. Inflation, 600%, maybe more, maybe over 1,000%. A 40% contraction in the economy between 1999 and 2003. You owe the IMF $273 million. They'll no longer, World Bank and the IMF will no longer lend you any money. The economy's in a right mess, isn't it, Mr. President?
It was, yes. It's now improving. It's getting out of that mess. Sure, yes, with sanctions imposed on us.
The sanctions are mainly imposed upon individual members.
No. This is again where you don't understand your Prime Minister. What did he do? He, said personal sanctions, because that was the more acceptable form of sanctions to some of his allies. But then behind us, he says no to countries. Don't trade, stop your aid, and so on.
President Bush was asked this question recently. Has he made any mistakes? He didn't give a very convincing answer. Have you made any mistakes, Mr. President?
If you make mistakes and don't correct them, then you won't develop at all. But the mistakes must not be in the majority, form the majority of your thinking, of your actions, of your deeds. They must be, just the exception to the positive, affirmative, and correct actions you take. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're a mistaken person the whole way through, and you become a devil then. But I don't think I've been that devil.
Do you think you'll outlast Bush and Blair?
No, I don't compare myself to them. I just do things in accordance with the wishes of my people. I sit down, we talk, and That's it. I'm a man of the people, actually. I'm born peasant family, and I have a peasant background, and I know what it is, to work with people, to hear them talk, to allow them to, play a part in your life. And this is, I think, what has carried me to this day. And although I sit here as president, I know that that post I owe to the people.
President Mugabe, thank you very much for joining Sky News.
Thank you.